Hey guys, Trevor Bucheri here with Body and Soul Fitness, Rapid Fat Loss Now when you've tried everything else, and we are about to embark in our nutrition seminar based on the grocery store. So it's basically a product that I put together that actually is a small seminar, and then it's going to be followed by a grocery store tour. I really hope that you enjoy it, and I really hope that you find it really applicable to all the success you're going to be having here. And again, it all starts with preparation and then what takes place in the store. You got to be prepared, all right, to be successful, and that's all that comes down to it. Guys, again, any questions that you have, please feel free to bring them in and enjoy.
All right, guys, we're about to embark on our grocery store tour here. First things first, we're going to be doing a slight nutrition seminar here, probably about 15 minutes nutrition seminar. Just kind of talking about what we're going to be going over and actually introducing your Body and Soul grocery list and nutrition cheat sheet. So here it is for you. It's been printed out for you. You guys all have one right now. Again, this is going to be a great guide as far as what you're looking to do with your nutrition, as far as an overall. If you don't want to, well, this is more or less geared to teach you how to eat correct the rest of your life. Okay, so nutrition plans aside, those are great, absolutely, but here is overall nutrition in a nutshell. Okay, so actually if you look at your page number 1, all right, read the top 3 bullet points. Okay, so we're talking about consume protein, produce, and water immediately upon waking, and then every 2 to 4 hours. That's huge. Be sure to add fats when selecting low-fat protein sources. So if you're going to eat a low-fat protein, add a fat to that. Okay. Also, low-carb options can be consumed anytime. High-carb options should be reserved for before noon or post-workout, and limit them to 1 serving to 2 serving per day. All right, so those are huge points to remember here. The setup of the actual chart. Okay, so the setup of the chart, you have your proteins, you have your carbs, you have your fats, okay, and you have your miscellaneous here. So the proteins, as far as the setups with this one, we have optimal compared to effective. So these are the ones that you want to be eating the most of here. So your optimals are your meats, your poultry, and your fish. Okay, so grass-fed is the best. Okay, not really available here at Tops. Again, you can get them at Wegmans. Okay, free-range chicken, turkey, pork, whole eggs, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's going to be, again, your optimal choices here. Effective is going to be your dairy sources for your protein sources. So we're talking full-fat, plain Greek yogurt. That's awesome. Full-fat organic cottage cheese. Again, that full-fat's a huge, huge deal. Cheese, and also full-fat organic cheese. Stevia sweetened protein powder. Again, something that we sell at the studio. Okay, so again, here's some vegan protein sources, and then here's your limit to avoid at the bottom. Okay, so that's your proteins. Carbohydrates. We have your separation of your veggies and your fruits here, of course. You have your low carb and also your high carb veggies, and those are going to be your variations. Also, your low carb and your high carb fruits. So again, we talked about you want to be eating more of the low carb variations. Those are going to be more unlimited. Okay, and your high carbs want to be more centered in the morning or around your workout. Those are going to be important sources to keep in mind as well. And again, that's going to be 1 to 2 servings per day, so keep that in mind of the higher carbohydrate source fruits and veggies as well. As far as your grains here, we're going to be going over the actual nutrition plans, the recommended ones to actually follow this one. Grains only want to be on high carbohydrate days, so keep that in mind when you're hitting this here. Let's talk about fats a little bit. So fats here, we have our low carb fats and also our high carb fats here. So again, when you're eating a low fat protein, you want to be actually complementing that with a fat source as well. So we talked about that a little bit. Let me just actually reiterate that again. Yeah, so that can really be any type of fat source when you're doing that protein source that is, again, low fat. So low versus high carb fats, okay, and the actual labels that we eat. So again, you'll notice the low carb fats are going to be like your olive oils and things like that. The high carb ones are going to be like your nut butters and your walnuts and your seeds, avocados, those as well. So again, those are going to be more limited on that, okay? And then here's your limit to avoid: trans fats. That should be avoid right there, okay? Vegetable oils, tilapia, those type of things you really don't want in your nutrition plan. Here is basically miscellaneous stuff as far as good tips that you can actually check out. So make sure you check those out as well. Let's go to page 2. So we're going to talk about the recommended overall eating. All right, so if you look at A, all right, so basically A is talking about the daily carb cycling here. So basically this is for someone who is consistent and no cheat eater. All right, so more or less flexibility on the weekends here. This is talking about basically doing a plan that's a 3-day carb cycling plan. And again, you're kind of getting your cheat meals in. So great for balanced, flexible eating personalities who prefer to eat higher carb foods in moderation with greater frequency and do not care about reward meals. Okay, so this is basically kind of you're just doing your scheme and you're doing it for life. It allows less total flexibility in the weekends and in social settings due to higher weekday carb intake. So basically, more or less, you can see that your day 1 is going to be a low carb day, then we go medium, then high carb, then we repeat. So the low carb days, you're eating low carb veggies and fats, of course, from your list. These are all going to be talking about the foods from your list here. So again, low carb veggies and fats. And then your day 2 is going to be medium, so you're going to be eating the low carb veggies and also low carb fruits, and then all fats, that's your medium. And then you have your high carb day, so all veggies, all fruits, all fats, beans and legumes, and your whole grains. So again, that again is talking about your high carb days when you want to eat those grains. Okay, then you repeat. All right, that's your A. Okay, as far as B, this is going to be rigid during the week, more lenient during the weekend. Okay, so more or less low carb weekdays, high carb weekends. That's going to be your plan B. So more or less you're going to be eating low carb veggies and fruits and fats during the week. Low carb veggies, low carb fruits, and then also low carb fats during the week. On the weekends, high carb and dairy for the weekend. Okay, let's try to read through the plan here. So great for rigid eating personalities with trigger foods that thrive on structure during the week and enjoy higher carb intakes on the weekend. Okay, only carbs consumed during the week are going to be low carb veggies, fruits, and fats. This is what we're talking about. So the best results coming from limiting or eliminating fruits entirely. So actually that's another thing you can think of during the week. So limit all higher carb options and dairy for the weekend. So here's your plan. Sunday you go low carb. All right, so Monday low carb, Tuesday low carb, all the way through Thursday. Okay, so basically your week starts on Sunday here, so a little bit different. Friday, Saturday, those are your days. Sunday's more or less your recovery. So Friday is going to be a high carb day. Saturday is going to be your low carb day. So we go, low carb days are more low carb veggies and fats. Okay? Your high carb days are going to be all veggies, all fruits, fats, beans, legumes, and whole grains. So we're talking about everything on the weekends. Okay? You know, your grains, your full fats, high carb and low carb, your high carb and low carb fruits and veggies. Okay? So that's option B here. Option C. We're going to be talking about actually going to be 1 to 2 planned reward meals during the week. So again, some people like this as well. It's called reward meals per week, 1 or 2. All right, so great for rigid personalities. They reserve higher carb options for 1 to 2 planned meals. Again, the rest are going to be lower carb options. Eat low to medium carbs all other times during the week. So again, great for rigid personalities with trigger foods that thrive on structure and whose lifestyles require more social carb indulgences. Okay, so reserve higher carb options and flexibility for 1 to 2 pre-planned reward meals of 2 hours in length per week. So basically, just more or less, just call it a meal. You know what I mean? 1 to 2 times a week. That's it. Eat low to medium carbs at all other times to make room for the higher carb reward meals. Again, all coming from your list. Alcohol. Limit alcohol consumption to moderate use on higher carb days. In all 3 of the above options. So alcohol, really try to limit it as much as possible here with this one. Okay? Let's go to page 3 and 4. The Clean 15 we're talking about. So this is something we're going to be talking about as we go through. Basically, the veggies and fruits that you want to be eating organic are the Dirty Dozen. Okay, so more or less in a nutshell, we're talking about the ones you want to be going organic are going to be ones that are going to be basically have no skin on them. All right, that you peel off. All right, so talk about an apple. You eat an apple right away. Okay, an avocado, you basically scoop it out. An orange, you basically peel that skin off. A banana, same thing. All right, strawberries, you eat the outside. All right, there's a lot of different things. You know, blueberries, you know, berries, peppers, spinach, all those type of things. You really want to be going more towards organic here, mainly because pesticides. That's what this is talking about as far as. You want to be looking out for pesticides. They're all over the place in the foods that you really don't even think about. Like veggies, you think veggies are good for you. Well, they are, but there's a lot of them that basically have tons of pesticides. All right, your Clean 15, if you look those over, those are the ones that again have the lowest amount of pesticides on them as well. Farmers Market, great place to get these as well. Okay, so if you get out the veggies here, you can go to the Farmers Market, which is a lot of times outside during the summer on Wednesdays and Saturdays. That's another good option here, as well as they have a really good produce section. All right, so keep that in mind. So again, there's a lot of information about these different types of produce here. I'm just going to read you the top paragraph here. So you can lower your pesticide consumption by nearly 4/5 by avoiding the 12 most contaminated fruits and vegetables and instead eating the least contaminated produce, according to EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, okay, calculations. So when you eat the 12 most contaminated fruits and vegetables, you'll be exposed to an average of 10 pesticides a day. When you choose fresh produce from the 15 least contaminated fruits and vegetables, you consume fewer than 2 per day. All right, so that's a huge, huge note right there. That's why I wanted to talk to you about the Clean 15. So more or less anything that has thicker skin, you're good to go, all right, that you actually peel off. All right, so let's actually go to the cartoon on page 6. This is basically talking about the majority of foods that you'll be seeing on the inner aisles here. More or less, it's a pretty funny thing. It talks about like colon cancer dogs, for sure diabetes drink, ADHD flakes. Everything in those aisles is basically processed garbage. Now we're going to go through and we're actually pick and choose some of the healthy options that you can, but more or less you're going to be staying in the perimeter of the store. And that's what we're going to be actually doing this tour on, is going to be the perimeter store. We are again going to be going through those aisles quickly and picking and choosing the good stuff we're going to be going towards, but more or less you're going to be sticking away from those type of things. Moving on here. So we're going to talk about product placement. As you go through the store, products are strategically placed in many places, so you can see them and purchase them. So placed at eye levels, those companies actually pay a lot of money to get their products at your eye level, as well as actually at your children's eye level. So if you go down the actual garbage cereal aisle, you'll see basically a lot of the cereals that they want your children to be buying are at their eye level. So sugary cereals, those type of things. Cheaper in-house brands are going to be more or less found on the bottom, but again, they're good stuff, so look for those. Soups are not arranged in alphabetical order. They are more or less arranged in the most popular soups, the ones they want you to buy again. Also, boutiquing, you'll see that as well, as far as bread near jams, so on and so forth. You can even see like cheese graters near cheese. It makes sense. In a convenience sense, it's very good. But again, there's a lot of things, that they do to make you buy them, without you even really knowing it or thinking about it. It's smart on their part, but it's not good. Okay? How to read a food label. We're going to talk about this here. So, this is a little bit different than any other food label that we've probably seen here. It more or less talks about, in layman's terms, what are things you want to be worrying about, what are things you really don't. All right, so we're going to start here. So knowing how many serving sizes, that's a huge thing. So when you're eating something, generally it's probably not actually a serving size. All right, so this one actually says a half cup, and it says that there's 15 servings per container. All right, so more or less you have, 7.5 cups in here. All right, and most of us would probably eat about 2 to 3 servings, maybe even more at a time. Okay, so that's something to know here. This is something that you actually, calories, of course. Calories depending on serving size, so we're talking about that. So not so much useful information as far as the calories from fat. All right, that's not really going to be mattering that much, because your main fat that you want to be worrying about is this, your trans fat. So you want none, no trans fat. Trans fat is garbage, okay? Again, trans fat is basically something that was a liquid that's chemically altered to become a solid. Not good for you at all, your body is not like that. That is what the cause of coronary artery disease is going to be. We're going to be talking about that as well when we talk about meats. When you actually go to a higher fat meat, like a steak or anything like that, that's not the issue. Same thing with whole milk. That's not the issue. It's trans fats. Okay, so processed foods. Saturated fat is not as much an issue. We just talked about that. So daily values, we're going to actually be talking about that as far as when you see like high source or great source or low fat or fat free. What does that mean? You know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about that as well just in a couple seconds. So fiber, this is huge, but it's got to be natural fiber, not man-made. So the more the better. Sugar, the less the better. That's a huge thing. Sodium, you want less than 2,400 milligrams per day. So really keep an eye on that sodium here. And again, your daily value chart, that's something that you want to really look at the bottom too. We're going to be talking about that as far as, wow, is this a good source of different type of products here? So those are really the type of things you want to be looking at. Again, serving size, look at your serving size as far as how many servings there are so you know about what serving you're doing. Again, trans fat, that's going to be another thing here as well. And then low sugar, high fiber, those are going to be huge spectacles as far as reading that food label. Let's move it on here. So page 9, here again, let's look these over. So we have our free, our low, our high, our good source, our reduced, and our light. So again, it talks to you a little bit more about just some information here about, like when you see a free product, so fat-free product that must have less than a half a gram of fat or half a gram of sugar to be considered this. Because it's not completely fat-free in a lot of cases. A good source, that means that a food must contain 10 to 19% of a daily value of something. Vitamin C. So it's a good source of vitamin C if it has 11% of that daily value. All right, so again, just some good insight for you here on those actual nutrient claims, the content claims. This is something that I actually thought you might be interested in having as well. Just another resource. This is actually a list of different names for sugars. Okay. If you see it on here, it's a form of sugar. Okay. So they basically label these this way and use all these different types of sugars more or less well, they're depending on the negligence of the consumer, more or less. All right, you're making sure you look at it and you don't see the word sugar and you're like, oh, okay, I'm good to go. But man, there's some stuff on here that's freaky. That's where this aspartame comes into play. The corn sweetener, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, just tons of different things. Maltodextrin, malt syrup, just tons of different things, man. There's actually sugar on here as well, which we all know. But again, just so you can see the type of things that they're putting in your food products, so when you actually look at the ingredients, that's going to be just a huge thing for you, okay? Saturated fat, we're looking at the next page. Again, this is a study talking about saturated fats here again from meats. So it's not the problem that's leading to cardiovascular disease, as far as having a fatty steak or having an egg that has fat in it, or having cheese or having milk. That's not what's leading to cardiovascular disease or heart disease. That's not leading to that. That's going to be, again, your trans fats. So anything, anytime, and you're going to be hearing this as well again today, anytime you see hydrogenated fats or hydrogenated oils, that is a trans fat. You do not want that in your system. Trans fats are, again, what's leading to this: coronary artery disease or cardiovascular disease, heart disease. 3 terms, same meaning, okay? So really don't worry about that at all, okay? The saturated fats. And again, basically the coronary artery disease or cardiovascular disease, that's what I talked about that, that's basically clogging your arteries. Okay, so more or less when you have plaque build up on the inside of your arteries, that's what that coronary or cardiovascular disease or coronary artery disease is. Let's call it heart disease. So that is really what's going to be going on. That's what's raising your cholesterol levels, is the trans fat, all right? The hydrogenated oils, that's your trans fat. The deep fried food, that's your trans fat. Those type of things, not meat fat, okay? Same thing with eggs. That is not going to be raising your cholesterol level, and it's also not a contributor to heart disease, okay? There's actually been a study that said 1+ eggs a day has no effect on your heart disease risk, okay? So that's going to be another thing that's a very important note, is that eggs are good. So eggs, 1+ a day is A-okay. All right, that's kind of my little cheesy thing. All right, so studies showed that when only the egg was studied with all other factors in check, there was no rise in cardiovascular disease. Before, many studies didn't consider the fact that other foods were being of detriment to a person's health. So maybe they were eating trans fats and things like that, and those were actually contributing to negating their health. But the eggs were really having no controversial effect. Then they redid the studies to make sure that they were completely clean, all right, and then they actually used the egg in that instance, and it showed, again, no negative effect. And again, that's our nutrition seminar here, you guys. Let's hit the floor and let's rock this out. Get educated on our nutrition for life here.
All right, guys, that concludes our grocery store nutrition seminar. Hope you guys got a ton out of it. Again, any questions that you have, please feel free to bring them in. We're always on top of our game. We're on the same page in terms of the trainer, so ask any questions that you have to myself or any of our other trainers that we have on staff here. And we are looking forward to you guys' success. And again, hope you guys have an awesome and inspired day.